Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metal Mill 52 YouTube channel. My name is Bill. This is my small scale shop. Some of you know that I've collected some smaller machinery, bought used and kind of refurbished and made updates to it. One of those things is this mini mill, Harbor Freight mini mill that I got several years ago from a nice gentleman named Neil. And he'd already done some work to it, but I put the little machine shop belt drive on it. And I just finished making another upgrade to it, mounting ball handles on the mill. This is from an article from the Machinists Workshop back in 2006 by Bob Hadley, and it talks about adding these really nice looking tri-ball handles to the mill, replacing the existing aluminum cast ones. And so if you'll stay with me the next probably 10 or 15 minutes, I guess, well, I'll walk you through the process, very similar to what's in the article, but really excited about that. Here's some other stuff I've got here, and you'll see in this video a homemade drill press, dedicated drill press from a Shopsmith Model 10 ER with a treadmill motor on it and a Cyclotrol 150. And here's my Lathe Master 8x14 lathe that also has a treadmill motor and the Cyclotrol 150. This one also has the DRO 550 added to it, and I really like this little Lathe Master 8x14. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy this episode, everybody, and we'll see some improvements to the mini mill. Thanks, guys. The stock hand wheels are held on with two thin, like jam nuts here. It's double nutted, and that one was difficult to take off, but this one, I got this loose very easily. So I'll take this off with a wrench here and see what we got. I remove the two nuts and a washer, and the hand wheel just slides off. There we go. The tricky part is I do have to take this measuring collar off, so that's why I wanted to examine this before I get too far down the road. And according to the article I read, you have to cut this in half to make room for the hand wheels. So this all stuff stays intact. This measuring wheel needs to be removed and somehow, and mounted. So we'll tackle that next. Okay, this is nice. This measuring collar just pulls apart. That's nice. So that now it needs to ride on this this inner portion. And the article I read talked about cutting this off and retrieving it. It looks like it might press out too, so before I start cutting it out, I'm going to see if I can press this out. And the ball handles did come pre-drilled from Valtra, but they weren't tapped, so I'm tapping 1032 here. Just wanted to show my little setup. I have a little drill press vise here to hold the handle steady, and I'm using a tapping handle. This is one way to do it, just to minimize some of the vibrations that could end up breaking a tap. Now here's the setup I ended up drilling out the holes with. I used a 3/8 inch drill bit to do the alignment, since that's what the original hole was. Then I enlarged it a little bit with 25/64, and then I used my 10mm, my brand new 10mm drill bit, which is not that good a quality drill bit, to finish up and open it out to the 10mm. And it's in a kind of a hodgepodge vise setup. And this machine. This is an ancient Shopsmith 10ER cast iron machine that I've converted to a full-time drill press. Has a treadmill motor and the Cyclotrol 150, which I've used on a lot of my machines. And then the next step was to free the little ring from the handle, the old handles, and you can see I obviously used a hacksaw for that. Wasn't the easiest job in the world, wasn't too hard either. It's aluminum, so the whole thing is cast as one piece apparently, so just saw it off. Took a little effort, but no problem. Here I'm using my little Lathe Master 8x14 lathe to turn down, both thin the web on the little the center piece for the knob. Also need to remove the diameter. There's not a lot of space on the end of that threaded rod, so I'm going to take this thing down to next to nothing to give it the maximum amount of space for the handle. Okay, I got all the parts and pieces ready to go to reassemble this. Unfortunately, I don't have my stand, so I can't really set up the typical shot like I usually do while I'm doing an operation, but at least let me walk you through it. First of all, I did have to deburr the handle, and it was a snug fit with a 10mm. I did have to go in it, and I used a little Dremel and a sanding wheel, and I also filed any burrs off the edge of this just to get it to fit, but it's snug. The other thing the article talks about is reducing the size of the pin. I had to cut that in half, which is a little kind of a Mickey Mouse thing. The better way to do it, but I don't have the equipment, better way to do it would be to cut a slot, a keyway slot in the handle. But anyway, I've cut that, and the next thing to do, I need to reassemble this ring and the increment ring, like you see here. And the critical piece, it was easy to take apart, and I didn't realize, but when I pulled it apart, this little spring came out. The spring is nothing more than a piece of wire that sits in this. There's a slot here, I don't know if you can see it, yeah, sits in that slot. So I'm going to reassemble the ring, the spring and the measuring ring, and tap this key into place, and then I can put all those on, then I can put the handle on, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. Okay, here's a good comparison shot. I wanted to do just one first, just to see how it all worked, and that way I'd have a reference handle if I screwed this one up. But that seems pretty nice. Like I said, a better way to do it would be to have a way to cut the keyway slot, and you could make a special cutter on the lathe and do that. I know Blondie Hacks showed some ways to do that, but I do like these handles. These are pretty awesome. So now I'll take that one apart, and as far as that little spring, I just used a little tiny screwdriver and very carefully poked on the spring as I compressed the inner ring with the outer ring, and it came together pretty easily. It wasn't too bad. Only sprang loose on me one time. Now I will say there's so little room here on the end that I only could use one of the jam nuts. So the conventional handle has two of them on there, but it shouldn't be a big deal. But did want to point that out, that you'll have a jam nut left loose. Alright, well I think this will wrap up this episode here. I wanted to come out in the daylight. I finished this last night, but really pleased with how these handles look, and looking forward to getting to use the mini mill a little bit more, getting to know it a little bit better. I've got a set of ER collets that I can use on it, and this is a vise that actually this used to be on the old Shopsmith when that was my milling machine. So have a great week, everybody. We appreciate you being along for the journey.